Hey everybody, welcome back to another Completed It. Yes, we are getting through the episodes. As you can see, I'm your co-host as always, Andy Burrows. Top left of my screen, we're going to get all of us on soon. I know we are. But one of my illustrious co-hosts is with us. Sash, how are you, my friend?
Yep, all good.
Good to see you, buddy. Good to see you. And we've gone very international today, Sash. We have gone literally across the pond and up a bit, if I've got my geography right. We are here to talk all things Ghostbusters, and from the Ontario Ghostbusters. Solange, how are you, my friend? Thank
I'm
you for
I'm
joining
doing
us.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. I'm so glad to join you guys. I love the accents. It's definitely
Oh,
a change from what I'm used to.
oh, thank you very much. Yeah, if I talk too fast, just tell me to slow down. We might
No
we
problem.
get that all the time. Solange, you started the Ontario Ghostbusters group in 2010. You guys are a group of friends paying basically homage to one of the greatest movie franchises ever. Doing some great charity work. I've followed you guys on Instagram, seen what you guys have been up to. Just tell us about the group, how it got started, and then we'll get into talking all things Ghostbusters.
So essentially, I wasn't part of the group back then. Actually, I joined later. But our history starts pretty much. It was a group of friends who were costume and prop enthusiasts, and they wanted to throw together some Ghostbuster costumes. They ended up wearing them to one of our biggest conventions here in Toronto, Ontario, and they were a very popular photo spot. So they thought, well, what can we do with this attention? And they decided to start raising money for charity. So they did some small events, and then as people started to get interested, more people started to join. It got quite big, and we're kind of all over the province. And some of us have even been to different events and on the state side, which is great. And we share our love for the Ghostbuster franchise with everyone who wants to talk to us about it. And at the same time, we raise money for some good causes.
Oh wow, that is incredible. I mean, how have you found it going across like the age groups? Because you seem everyone forgets Ghostbusters come out. I was 4 years old. Sash was 4 years old when Ghostbusters come out in 1984. God, Sash, we're old. Yeah, it
I
come
wasn't
out.
even alive, so
So
that 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 kind of
okay.
goes to show.
I
To
see
be
now I
to
know
be
that.
fair, to be fair for me, probably started with the real Ghostbusters
The
cartoon.
cartoon, yeah.
Yeah, because like we probably got into it through the cartoon and then
hmm
realized, oh, there's a
There's a
film.
movie, yeah,
Because
yeah.
we were at that ripe age where it was like the cartoon introduced a lot of people our age because it was all about the cartoons after school.
1986 was the cartoon.
Yep.
Ghostbusters would come on. And then I remember the hype for Ghostbusters 2. I remember it like yesterday. I remember
Mm.
like they were hyping it up, getting excited. Ghost in a can, the Ghostbusters in a can thing, the glow in the dark can from Burger King advert and stuff. They hyped that so hard. That was probably one of the biggest, most hyped movies that I remember growing up. Like
There's
movies would come out and stuff, but I didn't really care. I was too young. And then Ghostbusters, that was nuts. That was like the first big,
Blockbuster.
yeah, yeah, for
yeah.
Hmm.
me anyway, as a kid. So it's like it was like such a big deal. And then Ghostbusters 2 came out. Well, before Ghostbusters 2 came out, it was like, oh, so there's what happened to one? And then you find out there was actually
There was a
Ghostbusters
first
1.
movie, yeah.
And then
There
yeah,
was a
yeah,
first one.
yeah. But really for me, and I speak for a lot of people, it was that cartoon that came out that
I
was
think you're
bigger.
I think you're correct on that. I
Yeah,
mean, when we interact with the people who come by our booths or our setups or come to talk to us at events, they usually, if they have small children, the first thing they tell us is, "Oh, we're watching the cartoon," or "Oh, we've
yeah.
introduced them to the cartoon." So it's almost the same kind of formula all these years later as these people who have grown up with this franchise are introducing their kids with the cartoon, almost the same way like our generation is introduced to it. It's funny that you mentioned like the marketing for Ghostbusters too, because there's an inside joke that that's the money make the
Yeah.
franchise money maker because
Oh
it had
yeah.
so much promo and so much tie-in and all these collectible things. So it's funny that you mentioned the can and Burger King
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
specifically.
No, that was a big
That
thing.
was
That was a big thing.
huge. I remember that.
I had the can, and I refused to open it. I refuse
We
to
still
open it.
have one.
Oh,
We
do
set
you?
it up on our table. Yeah, we still do. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Wow.
refuse to open it, but like one of my relatives did open it, and
Oh, they
yeah,
let the ghost out. That's
yeah,
terrible.
I know some people in Canada we can call.
Yeah, there you go.
yeah.
Solange, what did you like? How did your fandom start? Was it just from a young age, and then you kind of joined? You were like, oh, there's a group of people that go around doing this. Was how did it all start for you? Because like we said, it was the cartoon for us, and then like Sasha's. I'm with Sash. I remember me and Sash grew up together, so we
Yeah.
literally talked Ghostbusters from the
Well,
age of 6 and 7.
it's pretty much the same thing. I mean, I like I said, I came into it a little bit late. I was born in 89, so I made the 80s by like a few months.
Okay.
Thank you. And I watched the cartoon, and my parents just kind of let me watch what they watched. And my mom and my dad were big fans of the original film, and I remember them showing it to me as a kid. And then when I was old enough to buy my own media, so like my own VHSs or my own DVDs, or Ghostbusters is always the first one I
See,
bought.
now I don't feel so old. You're
Yeah.
talking about VHSs. I feel fine now. I'm back in
I
the
was,
I
I
remember
zone.
was,
those and
I was also
cassette
going to
tapes
add,
and
Yeah.
that Ghostbusters 2 was the
Mhm.
most rented film in my household. Every
It's
other week,
Mm.
great.
I
No.
would go
It's
down with my
great.
pocket money. I'd rent Ghostbusters 2.
Solange, do you prefer the second one to the first movie? A
I
lot
think
of people do.
it's really hard for me because I think there's a certain type of magic to both of them. And I mean, the original one has this like you're this feeling that you're watching something that's never been done before.
Mm.
And even all this time later, like we have all these big special effects blockbusters, and there's been a million and one different ghost themed movies since then. But that one it just has this contained magic within it when you watch the first one. And the second one just has this almost nostalgic camp to it
Hmm.
that like a lot of people can pick apart certain things about it, and but there's still there's that campy nostalgia to it, and you can't help but love it. Even introducing like a lot, I know a lot of people don't like the way that Slimer appears in the second, but it was done on purpose. It was done to bring those kids who watched the cartoon to the film franchise, and it hits you differently when you watch either one. So I can't say I love one more than the other, but I love them both differently, if that
Mm.
makes sense.
No, no, I put it in a WhatsApp group the other day. Someone was rewatching one of our guys in our WhatsApp group was like, oh, I'm just watching Ghostbusters 2. I was like,
Hmm.
that's the best one. And everyone's like, are you fucking crazy, Andy? And I'm like, I think it's the best one. Do you think, like you just said, they didn't know what we were getting with one when it first come out in 1984. We were 4 years old. You weren't even born. It's one of the, we didn't know. It's like Sasha. We didn't watch it till later in life. Was it like a lot of movies in the 80s and the 90s? You try things, Die Hard, and then you're like, well, let's see what we get with Die Hard. Then you'll make Die Hard 2, Die Hard 3, Die Hard with a Vengeance, etc., etc. There's Rush Hour. Was Ghostbusters the first real movie? You talk about Ghostbusters and Star Wars that they thought, hey, let's try this. And like Sasha's, this was the first one that I remember probably when I was like 7, 8 years old, just going kaboom. This was everywhere. Do you think that Ghostbusters set the standard for a lot of the stuff we see now?
I do think so in a way. There like I said, there's a specific magic to that film, and a lot of media that was made within the 80s was just not experimental in the way that we think like like David Lynch or David Cronenberg, like we think these experimental
Hmm.
directors or story creators, but it was across the board in all media. We had movies like Ghostbusters that came out and just kind of blew everyone's mind. There was music that came out and blew everybody's mind. Like it was a weird time in human history where the creativity and the exploration of media and art came out with these beautiful gems for us to admire all these years later. So, but I do think that Ghostbusters was a big push for that because they realized they could, like studios realized they could make a lot of money taking risks on these types of films and making sure they get the right cast. But I also think like it gave a lot of other people in that creative space the silent, okay, you can make that weird film or you can make that weird album and people are going to love it.
Yeah, I mean, you go back to 1984 as well. It launched a lot of careers.
Hmm.
The Ghostbusters movie, Sigourney Weaver being the main one that we all went on and know and loved. I mean, Sash, what did you think about when you look back at it now? And we do this all the time on this show. We go back and we look at old movies, and you look at a lot of people that have been in the movies from the 80s, and you think, wow. Alien movie, prime example, Ghostbusters, etc.
Love the Alien
Yeah,
films. Yeah,
oh my God, we'll have to get you back on when we talk about that.
for
So
sure, for
we'll get
sure.
you can become a regular on this show. Sash, but a lot of movies in the 80s and 90s launched a lot of careers, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't say Ghostbusters though,
I
um,
would.
I would.
I
because
would
Sigourney Weaver
100%.
was already famous for Alien. She'd already done the
I
sequel as
I
well.
wouldn't
I think she's
use
more famous for
Um,
Ghostbusters if I had
I
to.
I
think I
wouldn't use
think
Sigourney as an
for
example for that, for
I
sure.
think
There's
yeah,
others in that
and
film.
you've got to understand like Bill Murray and those guys were already famous because of Saturday Night Live, and obviously they'd already had careers
I think
beforehand.
it took them internationally more, I would
Uh,
say. Because Saturday Night Live was it's never been big over it. Never.
well, yeah, Saturday
Really.
Night Live was never big in the UK, but those films were.
True.
Like you got to understand, Dan Aykroyd was everywhere in the 80s.
He
So
was
was
the
Bill
pin-up of the
Murray.
80s, wasn't he?
So
Yeah.
That's
was
my
yeah,
Canadian buddy. My
yeah.
Canadian buddy. Yeah.
Him and Bret Hart.
I think Harold Ramis not so much, but then he
Mm.
was more of a behind the scenes guy. But I think a lot of those guys were already established. But Ghostbusters as a phenomenon, that was one of the key things. That was for me, that was up there with Star Wars. You know what I mean? It was like
I'd say it
up
still
there.
is.
It was massive.
I would say that Ghostbusters did help launch the careers of a lot of the people who were in that film. Like Sigourney Weaver, we obviously know Aliens, and then there is the Saturday Night Live crew, but you have people like Ernie Hudson, for example, who
Hmm.
Oh
was,
yeah,
a struggling actor, and he's spoken about this many times. He's spoken to me about it many times too. This was a big break for him, and it definitely put him on the map and got him more like he's in like one of the big movies in my household is The Crow. So
oh yeah. Love
he's
the
in
Crow.
Ghostbusters, which I love, and he's in The Crow, which I love. So he's already made a huge impact on
Yeah.
my existence just from being in Ghostbusters. And then we're talking about Canadians. We have oh my gosh, Rick Moranis as Louis Tully, and that wasn't even an originally a role for him. It was supposed to go to John Candy, another Canadian, R.I.P. But that put Rick Moranis on the map because we knew him in Canada from SCTV, but he wasn't internationally known for anything else.
Right.
So I think the film did launch careers for certain actors, but there's definitely those staples that were in there that already
Yeah.
had their foot in the door. They just had to walk through it.
Mm. Solange, were you surprised? So we had the first one in 1984. We had
Hmm.
Ghostbusters 2 in 89. Obviously, we had the cartoon wedged in between that in 86. I'm going to be very careful how I word this now.
Okay.
We went to 2018. They want
16.
16, sorry. They wanted to bring Ghostbusters back. They did,
Hmm.
and it's one of the biggest flops I think movie history has taken. What do you think was the reason? Was that Hollywood going to Hollywood? Because look, I've watched the movie a few times. It's an all-female cast. I get what they wanted to do with it.
Hmm.
I generally do get what they wanted to do with it. I just think it was a big miss. And it could have had a male cast, it could have had a female and male cast. I just don't think they went so far away from what Ghostbusters was and
Hmm.
is to people like us three here.
Hmm.
What did you make of when they brought the Ghostbusters franchise essentially back to the big screen first? They didn't give us any real TV spin-offs there, especially the world we're in now with Disney Plus
Hmm.
and Paramount
Yeah.
Plus. There was no real,
Streaming and
yeah. I'm very surprised it's never been. We'll get to that in a minute because it's an idea I've got, and I'd love to see what you think. What
I
did you
have I have some
make?
info for you.
Ah, okay,
Yeah,
interesting. What did you
yeah.
make when Ghostbusters come back with the all-female cast? Because it tanked across the globe.
So I'm going to walk you through my process when this happened. So obviously when I heard that there was a new Ghostbuster movies coming out, I was ecstatic because I wasn't really in that age where I could have gone to go see Ghostbusters in the theater one or two.
Hmm.
So for me to have a Ghostbuster experience in the theater, I was very excited for it. I have No qualms with an all-female cast.
Nope.
I did watch Saturday Night Live. I thought a lot of the women who were cast were absolutely hilarious
Hmm.
and could hold their own in a comedy film. What I think a lot of people tend to miss with this particular film is we have such a love for the original franchise. I think
Hmm.
it's hard for us to remove that, not remove that love, but to kind of step outside of it for a second to enjoy a piece of art. And for all across the board, for me personally, as a movie, I think it's great. It's funny. It makes me laugh. It's not the same as, our beloved original Ghostbuster franchise. And I do think that it came from a place of love and respect for the franchise. I just don't think people were ready for that next step. I mean, we've had two other sequels to the original storyline already, which are fantastic, and I'm sure we'll talk about those.
Oh yes.
But I don't think people were ready to kind of step outside of that original story of the four, and I think that that's what kind of was detrimental to that film. I personally I love it. I don't have any issues with it. I think it's a great piece of art, but I can understand why people have an adverse reaction to it or they're not a fan of it and you can see that in the numbers that it made, but have a feeling if they revisit it now they'll think differently.
Yeah, I mean, I've got no. A lot of people were like, "Oh, it's an all-female cast. Why is the world like that?" And I'm like, I don't care that it's an all-female. I didn't care that it was an all-females cast. I just
Hmm.
thought that my argument is that they tried to go so far away from what we know, and maybe that's me just being a grumpy old man. I liked what I liked in growing up as a kid, but it's not just Ghostbusters they do it with. They do it with so many of the 80s and
Hmm.
90s movies now. They bring stuff back. Some of it hits, some of it doesn't. We probably just see it through from a prism of we grew up with this. We
Yeah.
please be as good as what we knew as kids. And
Yeah, it had big shoes to fill. It had huge shoes to fill, and it could be because we didn't really have that stepping stone that it missed the mark.
hmm, yeah, no, you're right. Sash, what did you make of when they first brought it back? Did you? What? I know obviously
So,
you're one of the biggest Ghostbusters fans
so,
I know.
so, so here's the thing. Okay, I'm gonna take myself back to because, funnily enough, like when I was doing Zito's Gang with Joe, the Ghostbusters trailer was the first trailer we reviewed, the
Hmm.
Ghostbusters 2016. Um, and going back, okay, if we're going back to 20, not even 2016, 2014, or even before they announced female Ghostbusters, my anticipation for Ghostbusters 3 with the guys had diminished.
Hmm.
It was mainly because if you look at Bill Murray in interviews over the decades,
Never wanted
he
to do
was
it.
so not interested in
Mm.
coming back playing lead. He was so disinterested. He'd be like he was on Letterman saying, "Oh, I've got the script. It's on my desk. I haven't watched it. I haven't read it. And it's been there for 3 months." Disinterested.
Mm.
And for me, it was like, well, Bill Murray's the lead. You need the heart of the Ghostbusters to be there. You know what I mean? Front
Mm.
and
Hmm.
center. When you watch that first film, it's him and those guys, and you know what I mean? Um, the more he was disinterested, the less I was interested in seeing him in it or them in it because the time had gone. Yeah, you had the game, and the game was great, but it was a fantastic game.
Love that game.
How,
Awesome
however,
game.
however, if Bill Murray doesn't want to be there, do I want half a performance? You know what I mean? Do I want that cash in? So when I heard Paul Feig specifically was going to be directing the reboot, I had just seen Spy and
Oh, so funny.
Bridesmaids and The Heat. And I
Ah,
was like, I was like, okay, it's a
this could be
reboot.
good. Yeah.
It's a female Ghostbusters. I love Spy. I love The Heat, and I like Bridesmaids a lot. That he's a very fun director. He hadn't had a miss. You
Hmm.
know, so I was going in with an open mind, more so than other people. And then I remember, when we watched that first trailer, I wasn't feeling it. I must say, I really wasn't feeling it because they said it was a reboot, but then they kept showing like the callbacks. Like they had the fire, the Hooks and Ladders fire station, and they've you know what I mean. So it's like, hang on, so is this a continuation? because the marketing's saying it's a continuation because it's saying like 20 years ago, four
Yeah.
scientists saved the world. And it was giving mixed messages,
It's
to the
a
audience.
tricky Hollywood trick. They're playing
Yeah,
on your nostalgia with the trailer.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
just kind of like, all right, but what is it? Like, that's really strange. So I was like, okay, really confused by that. Didn't really dig the trailers that came out. But I was like, I'm seeing it based on the talent because
Yeah,
Melissa
the
McCarthy,
casting was
the casting was
incredible.
fantastic.
Casting was brilliant.
If you're gonna recast, you are gonna get Saturday Night Live's greatest, and I
Hmm.
felt that they did. They because if you looked at those girls before watching the movie, they were all fire. They were all fire. Melissa McCarthy in Spy, hands down. You know what I
Funniest,
mean?
funniest,
Amazing.
She's
one of the
so
funniest. Yeah.
funny. Yeah.
Amazing. So you got to understand, I was in because of the talent and I was open to watching it despite Ghostbusters meaning so much to me. I remember went in there with Ken, our friend on the Creative Control podcast. We both went to see it, and I was a bigger Ghostbusters fan than he is. I'll be honest with you, that opening is a really good opening.
Oh, great.
That was
Great
a
opening.
really good opening. So
Hmm.
I was like, okay, that's a good
This
opening.
could be good. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll start with the good. And then they introduced the cast, and I was like, okay, I could get on board with this. But the first thing that took me out really was the first ghost catch because and maybe it was because I'm comparing it to the original. They go on in the original, they go on how they're carrying nuclear accelerators on their back. Everything's so grounded, and it's their first time using this equipment. They're fucking up because they are fuck ups, and
Hmm.
you know what I mean. They're making it up as they go along. But these girls are doing it perfectly, and like they're in a rock concert, and it's like, aren't you guys just going to usher the people out for safety, etc.? Nope, there's
No
no
safety
safety.
control.
Safety
No
street.
health and safety in this movie.
And
No,
then
no,
and
no.
then it just went on with the John Woo stuff with the guns and stuff, and it just took me
Yeah.
so out, and I was like, nah. But I have to disagree with you, Andy.
Oh, shock.
It was okay. Though many thought this was the biggest flop ever, blah blah blah. That's the fandom in us.
Yeah,
That's the fandom and our
you
love
are
of
right there, I'd
yeah, yeah.
say.
It wasn't the biggest flop of that year, movie wise.
No.
Biggest flop was Ben-Hur, followed by the Brothers Grimsby and Assassin's Creed. They all made the least amount of money that year compared to any other movie that year. Ghostbusters actually turned a profit. It
Yeah.
made its
It
budget
always, I
back.
think it was always going to turn a profit
Yeah,
because
it
it's
made its
Ghostbusters.
budget back. But what it was, it came in 229 million worldwide. Lucky for them, they didn't spend 200 million on this movie. They spent 100 million on it. They spent 100 million on the marketing. So it came in 29 million on the profit end. However, that's not what studio execs want because it means they don't get
No,
that
no,
much.
no.
You know what I mean? They're
Yeah.
like, we just broke even and we've got pittance, and the cinema
Yeah.
people are like feeling the same. So, you know, it broke even, and it was one of those ones where I think if the public demanded a sequel, it would have got one. But what's his name? Dan Aykroyd went on the record saying if they'd shot it for even less, it probably would have got a sequel.
Hmm.
Mm.
So it's like, it's kind of like that and the backlash, I think it made them do the reset. But I mean, was it a bad movie? Well, for me, it didn't fly with me, but I did try. I went in with an open mind. I wasn't
Yeah,
dead
I think we all
against
did,
it.
to
I,
be
I,
honest.
I was never dead against it. Um, was I pissed off about it? Not really, because by that point, I was like, well, I've had my Ghostbusters. You know what I mean?
That's a great point.
I've
You
I've
like
had mine. I've had mine, and
We say that all the time,
and
though, don't
when
we? There's a lot of movies where you're like,
yeah,
now we sit here as grumpy old men, but we have to
yeah,
realize there's a whole new generation that don't know
yeah,
1984, that don't know
hmm
1989, that don't know the guys. This was their first look at Ghostbusters, and then we're going to get on to the minute you got Afterlife and Frozen Empire, and for me that was more of a nod to grumpy old men like me and Sash and all the everyone that was
yeah.
more like, okay, look, we'll give you what you want and it's going to be tenfold and it's going to meet all your expectations, etc., etc. Just before we get to that, Solange, I just want to get to yourself, have you had any
Yeah.
interaction with what you do and many interaction with cast members? What's their feedback been like? Because doing what you do, I follow you guys online and it's incredible. Great work what you do. I wish there was more people like you
Oh, thank you very
doing it,
much.
you know.
There is actually quite a few. We call ourselves franchises, and Sony Entertainment and Sony Pictures are a fantastic partner to have for something like this. There are groups like mine and all over the world, and I've had the opportunity to meet lots of them, and I've had the opportunity to meet lots of people who were involved with the Ghostbuster franchise. Like I mentioned earlier, Ernie Hudson's someone who we generally see often. I live in a city that is big for Canadian filming, and a lot of stuff is made here. So I know he's in town now, he's filming, and we see him and his wife all the time, and they're absolutely a joy, a pleasure. And the memories of them and they remember who we are, they remember our names, they remember what group members have kids and how old the kids were last time. He's fantastic.
Wow.
He's amazing. Dan Aykroyd, we've met several times. Again, he's a local boy. I'm in Toronto, Canada, and
Hmm.
he's in Kingston, and so we do see him, and he calls us his family, which is amazing.
That's
Absolutely. It warms my heart.
cool.
He was the first one I met, and I was very nervous to meet him. Like I remember shaking when I met him because the franchise, I have so much love for it.
Oh,
I've met Bill Murray in like a brief passing. Here in Toronto, we have the Toronto International Film Festival, and they had a Bill Murray Day. And the last film that was shown on Bill Murray Day was Ghostbusters. And he was there, and he did a Q&A afterward with Ivan Reitman, the director, who I've also met a few times.
God
And
rest his soul, R.I.P.
Yeah,
mhm,
Right,
R.I.P.
very
man.
man.
sweet man,
One of the
yeah.
best ever to do it.
So we showed up. The Toronto International Film people didn't know we were coming, and we all came suited up in our gear with all our packs and stuff, and they were just over the moon. So they brought us into this viewing, and we got to say a quick hello and thank you for the film. And he was super receptive, super sweet, super nice. Obviously, Harold Ramis, RIP to him. My favorite Ghostbuster, by the way. That one I wish I would have got, but I have Sigourney Weaver still on my list. I need to meet her. Rick Moranis, I would love to meet him. And I have met the cast of the all-female crew as well. Sony was really nice enough to invite a lot of the franchisees out for the LA premiere, so I got to go do that.
Wow.
And
Oh, cool.
I
Incredible.
should have brought up my autograph book. I had we one of the guys made almost like a yearbook for all the franchise members who went, and we got to get the autographs of all the female cast and everyone else who was there. So I've got to meet pretty much a good list and chunk of people who are involved in that franchise, and they've all been so thankful and so receptive to the love that we bring them. They're a great little I can call them that. They're a great little family. I love them.
Yeah, that's so it's so good to hear, man. That's so good to hear. Just finishing up, we eventually got forward to 2021 and Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Hmm.
For me, I remember walking into the cinema thinking, "Oh my God, this is what I'm talking about. I'm getting Ghostbusters again." I remember walking into the big, I saw it in IMAX. I'm like, I'm refusing to see this on some little bitty tiny screen. I'm seeing this in IMAX I think I went and saw it like 4 or 5 times. For me, Afterlife, Solange, I don't know what you think. It was such a homage to everything that Ghostbusters stood for.
Hmm.
Obviously, we all know the ending of that movie. If you're not a Ghostbusters fan and you didn't cry, there's something wrong with you. I just thought everything about that movie and everything about what they've done with Frozen Empire and where they're going with the franchise, for me, that's Ghostbusters. What did you make of when Afterlife come out? You guys must have been like kids at Christmas, I can imagine.
Oh my goodness, yes. 150%. It came out at a very odd time for me. There was a lot of stuff personally that was going on, and I remember going into that theater again. Sony had invited us to a private screening, so we kind of got to see it before everybody else did.
Nice.
And I remember sitting in the theater, and I was sitting with my fellow group members, and I could hear the sniffles across the aisle. And I think that that film and then the sequel to that film come from a place of love for the original. And I mean, there's no other person, I don't think, who could have conveyed that more so than Jason Reitman and Gil for the second. He grew up in that franchise. He grew up with those people. He kind of understands it maybe even more than us fans do. And I think that it really showed in that storytelling. And specifically with that story. Like a lot of people don't realize how much that story reflects the life of Ghostbusters as a product, right? We spoke earlier about how Bill Murray didn't want to do any of
Hmm.
the other films, and it stems from an argument that he had with Harold Ramis. And before Harold passed away, the two of them had made amends. And one of the things that Bill Murray has been quoted as saying is he wished he had done it sooner,
Mm.
because then
All of them.
we would have had
Yeah.
all of them. So it kind of it tells the story of the franchise. It moves the story from the franchise. It hits all those nostalgia points that we want, but it also gives us a new team that we're comfortable with, right? We
Hmm.
still have, like Spangler is there in spirit and his family's kind of taking it on, but we're comfortable with that. So we can move the story into things like Frozen Empire and continue that legacy on.
Mm.
But yeah, that first one, I remember I cried a lot.
Yeah,
I cried a ton.
I'm not
Yeah.
proud enough to admit that I did as well. I mean, Slans, just finishing up, what do you think the future of the franchise looks like? We touched on it earlier with the way that the world is now. We
Yeah.
talk about this all the time, me, Sash, Neil, and the guests that we have on Disney Plus, Paramount, Netflix. Do you
So
think?
Netflix is the one to watch. I'm not spilling any spoilers. It's been out in the public for a while. There is going to be a new animated series on Netflix.
Awesome.
So we will be able to kind of reintroduce a younger generation to the franchise that we love the same way that a lot of us got into it with another cartoon.
Hmm.
So I think that's great. And who knows, there's probably going to be more films down the line for sure. But for immediate streaming, it's Netflix is the next thing with a new cartoon. So,
Do you think we could see? I think Ghostbusters. I've got an idea for this. I think it would be perfect for like a. If you wanted to lead into another movie, you could fit a TV series in between it. They've done it with a
oh,
lot of Marvel
100%.
stuff. They've done like Loki and they've done WandaVision, etc., etc. They've done all of that. I think Ghostbusters would be perfect for 45 minutes to an hour, 6 episodes. Put it on wherever streaming service that you're going to put it on. Do you think a TV show would? First of all, would you like to see it? Stupid question. And B, do you think
Yeah.
B, do you think it would work?
Yeah. We throw this joke around all the time. We think that they should make a show about the franchises. I would love to be in one.
Oh, that would be amazing.
I
Would
think
you?
it would be a great segue, yeah.
Yes.
But having those little in between mini shows like Disney Plus does do with Star Wars and Marvel and stuff, I think it would be beneficial for them for sure. I don't think the studio coming from a money standpoint is going to lose money on it, and it gives us fans more things to like dive deeper into the franchise. I think it would be a great idea.
Yeah, I really do. I mean, I think Ghostbusters is one of the ones I want to see them expand the world. Some of them that are coming out now that we talk about again, we talk about it all the time on this show. Some we love, some we think just leave it where it is.
Hmm.
It would come across on my TV screen this morning. They rebooted. Remember Saved by the Bell from when you were a kid?
Yeah.
I found the reboot this morning
Oh
and watched
goodness.
it, and it broke my heart.
Well,
I
they've done
was,
that with Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
yeah, that,
They've done it with 90210.
yeah.
And
Some
again,
need to be left.
there's this magic that is captured in those original things that you can't replicate. It has to come naturally.
Yeah.
So I think that the Ghostbuster franchise is in a good space right now.
Mm.
That if they wanted to expand to streaming and kind of make these little subsequent shows or storytelling options, they're in a good place to do it, and I think they should definitely do it.
Most definitely. Solange, absolutely loved having you on our show.
It was a pleasure. I
Um,
loved it.
Thank you so much. Just tell our people that are watching this where they can find you on all your socials and everything. What have you got coming up? What's 2026 look like?
So we're the Ontario Ghostbusters across the board, Ontario Ghostbusters on Instagram. This year we're starting off with a convention in March, so we've got a little bit of time to kind of prep. And obviously, we did just finish our 15-year anniversary, so we've got some new things to roll out this year. Fingers crossed if all the fabrication works out well. And some new opportunities for our Ghostbuster fans to come hang out with us, talk about the franchise, and help us raise funds for charity.
Yeah, I think that's a really important part there as well, raising money
Mhm.
for what's some of the charities that you work with?
So we've done sick kids hospital here in Toronto, which is the biggest children's hospital in the world. We've raised money for them. Vasculitis Society of Canada in honor of Harold Ramis. We've done various cancer fundraising throughout our years. We've also done things that have to do with children in science. So we've done Visions of Science, which is a children's STEM program, which helps kids who are in underprivileged houses be exposed to science, technology, engineering, and math.
Wow, incredible.
And this last year, we actually just worked with a charity that helps kids who are in the foster system who are aging out, helping them find homes and schooling and continuing their education. So we're kind of all over the board. We sit down at the beginning of the year and kind of discuss where we feel our attentions could be for the year, and we pick a charity and we go from there.
That is absolutely incredible. In a world with God knows what going on.
Hmm.
It needs
I
it
think
needs
it's
people
very
like you.
important to give
It
back.
needs yeah,
Yeah,
it needs people like you guys. So keep up the great work.
we
Thank you so
will.
much for coming on. We'll get you back on when you're in a Ghostbusters movie, all right? We're gonna get in
What,
touch.
fingers crossed.
When
Put it
we
out into
see
the
you
world. Yeah.
cast, I'm gonna be straight on. We'll get you a big shout out to everyone at Podstars as well for hooking us up with this interview.
Yes, thank you.
We really do appreciate them. Keep up the great work, my friend, and we will keep an eye on you in 2026. Thank you so
Pleasure.
much for
Thank
coming
you.
on. Anyone wants to check out our show, just go onto YouTube and type in Completed It Podcast. Massive thanks to everyone that's been subscribing over this weekend. We're 1 year old in 2 days' time. We're nearly at like 1,000 subscribers now for our little old podcast. Is really good. So we hit one on the 13th of January. It's to be a year since we've done our first episode. Just jump onto YouTube, Completed It Podcast, X, Twitter, again, whatever you call it. I always call it Twitter. At Completed It Pod is where you can find us, and on Instagram, Facebook. But if you go onto our YouTube, all the links are in our bio. But we will be back next week with more Completed It. But till then, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in and stay safe.